think I'm searching for something that doesn't exist. And I don't deserve it anyway. Nice guys want a girl who makes them feel special, not someone who puts it around like I do. So I attract the sleazes. Even the men I think are decent turn into sleazes. Something needs to change. And soon. Mandy shrugged on her jacket. She couldn't be bothered to go back upstairs for her scarf and winter coat. She pulled on gloves, grabbed her keys and bag, checked her phone and shut the door gently in deference to her sore head. She took deep breaths of cool sea air as she walked down the hill towards the seafront. When she reached the promenade, she looked around to make sure no one was in hearing distance and yelled to the sky, "I need a change, please. I need to change." She stomped off towards Owl Corner Crafts, the craft centre she owned and ran near to Morton Beach. Negative thoughts about herself continued to swirl around her painful head. She vaguely noticed that the sea looked grey and cold, the beach and the high street deserted. It was the middle of February, early yet for the majority of tourists. They would begin to arrive in droves at Easter. Before she could begin yet another tirade of self-abuse, she stopped in her tracks. Someone was sitting hunched over on the steps of the craft centre. For one horrified moment, she thought it could be the unknown man she'd spent the previous evening with. But this wasn't a man. It was a youth. And now she was closer, she recognised his profile. Nick Crossten. Mandy had been displaying artwork for Nick ever since he'd won an art competition at Morton High School, and she'd been persuaded by the competition organiser to sell his canvases. His pictures sold well too. The lad was extremely talented. Nick glanced up as Mandy approached. His face looked ashen, just as hers had been in her morning reflection, and his eyes were hollow and dark-ringed too. He was shivering in the cold air. "Nick? What's up?" She tried to sound bright, even though her heart lurched as she could tell something was terribly wrong. "Mum's gone." "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" All thoughts of herself, her reflection in the mirror and even her sore head fled. "Met a man and left with him." The unhappy youth shrugged and looked away as if he didn't want her to see his expression. "But she can't just leave you, can she?" He looked back at Mandy, his eyes full of tears. "Well, she has." He shrugged again. "Are you absolutely certain she's not just gone on holiday?" "She's gone, Mand. Gone forever. Said horrid things to me before she went." His thin shoulders began to shake, no longer able to hold back the sobs. Mandy didn't quite know how to react. You thought twice about putting your arm around someone else's child these days. "But who's going to look after you? Did she at least leave you some money? A phone number for emergencies?" "Nope." He gulped the bleak word out through his emotion. "Said I didn't deserve anything, that I could support myself with my Ponzi art. Left her keys on the table, took her suitcases and slammed the door." He looked up at Mandy, blatant fear in his eyes. "What do I do now?" Mandy sank down to sit on the step next to Nick, and an ache started up in her chest in response to his woeful expression. "First of all, Nick, your art is wonderful. Never let anyone say otherwise, and you, young man, deserve the best the world can give to you." Nick had always appeared scruffy and slightly neglected, but this was the first time she'd seen him looking beaten down by life. He'd always had a ready smile before. "What about your dad?" Her tone sounded falsely bright even to her own ears. "Never known a dad. Mum always says I haven't got one." Mandy resisted the obvious retort that he must have been fathered by someone, and wondered how Nick's mother could have been so cruel to her son to say such a thing. She felt a spark of determination growing inside of her. "We'll work this out together. You can come and stay with me for now until we decide what to do." "Really?" She nodded. "Thanks, Mand." His face brightened for a couple of seconds before darkening again. "I'll end up in a children's home, won't I?" His expression was heart-wrenchingly fearful. "Not if I can help it." Mandy couldn't shake the thought that she'd asked for a change in her life.